War is no longer an issue just between nations. It is the ultimate fear of all who have seen the mushroom cloud.
I was born of war. My mother was in the British Army. My father was in the American Army. My mother lived in Liverpool and remembers having lost 2 homes that were bombed to smithereens during the Second World War. So this piece is called War. When will they ever learn? On a table that has rubble all over it, a landmine. The base of the piece is just rubble, which is the base of everything to do with war. However, the big sculpture is a ammo box, and it pulls, the top doesn't come off, it actually pulls. I placed in the open part a light in the bottom, which actually is a strobe light, a huge sculpture, the huge mushroom cloud, that on top of which there is the earth. But on the top surface, there are 2 sets of army men, one in one color, one in the other. They're on top of the can, and between them is a river, or a river of blood. Either side of the river, there's very rough sand and there's very soft sand. That is the whole difference between this army and this army, and they're shooting each other. Today, we do not go to war for land. We go to war for money and power and control of people.
Hi, I'm Belle Hahn, and I'm so honored to be here today on the Birth of Reason to continue to have these conversations. Judy's piece, War, When Will We Learn, has been a very sensitive topic for me my whole life because I had a very intense, distinct aversion to violence when I was a little girl. When I saw someone slap somebody's face, I would start crying. When I saw blood in a movie, I'd lose my mind. And I think that to have violence around us so much in so many different ways, even as children, my little girl, my inner child, was terrified very early of this. And I think my father having to have been someone to run from the war was part of that. I think that violence in general has always made me more than uncomfortable. It's been a disgusting thing for me to witness. And from my own childhood that was both glamorous and full of its versions of war, where the beauty can exist at the same time as the pain. And so that song keeps coming up for me, you know, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. I can't not sing that in my head because I really don't understand the benefit. I do understand that Judy has created an art piece that has really brought us to the rumble of what, not only the destruction of it, but also the through line that we all bleed. And so she incorporated her own blood, showing that when war exists and one bleeds, we all do. And so my heart has been bleeding for war, for pain, for destruction my whole life. I've been really sensitive to it, and it's a very uncomfortable conversation. But the real question now is, when will we learn? Because we're at the precipice of what feels like another mushroom cloud, what feels like this anxiety and tremor that's quaking between the earth and us of, are we safe? Are we safe here? And so I don't necessarily know that I'm here to talk to you about a solution, but to be able to talk to you about the issue at least brings it to the table so that we can have this conversation over a conscious meal, over something that roots us back to what is real, what are we fighting for? And the only thing that I don't even want to fight for, but that I believe this show is about, what I believe our planet has come to a wake-up call to, is that it's time to honor peace.
There is a lot happening in my outer world and in my inner world. Right now I have the honor of sitting in front of you, Judy, and having this conversation. So my inner world is becoming a bit more relaxed as I'm also in the midst of packing and wishing this moment could last longer. But I'm reminded of my outer world, which is that there's a lot of pain and turmoil, not only in my country of Somalia, but globally. And so I'm very conscious of the peace I feel in this moment, coming off of few days of being in Santa Barbara with a very loving community where there is so much hope and love and solidarity, that I'm also now going into an environment at the Oxford Skull Forum with policymakers, practitioners, and human rights activists to look at how to solve some of these issues, again, from a different perspective. So I feel very aware of holding on to this inner peace to be able to show up, to deliver, to confront the outer peace that is reality in all of our lives. Well, war is more than just armed conflict, and peace building is more than just the cessation of conflict and putting the weapons down. Our work since the early 90s that my mother and father started together at the Elman Peace Center began with the campaign, drop the gun, pick up the pen. And the recipe was so simple, which was less fighters means less fighting. An alternative, dignified livelihood will turn any spoiler of peace into an ambassador for it. And 30 something years later, that recipe still holds. And in the absence of political peace, we have achieved social peace and have been able to see transitional justice in the absence of penal and constitutional justice in my country. And now more than ever, I think that there's a lot of lessons that can be learned from Somalia, where there is a decline of democracy, a global trust deficit. And this is an opportunity to also be reminded by the moral authority that communities hold and the power that each of us yield to be a part of building peace. And so a lot of the conversations I've been having here, and where I think your community and the way that you spread peace through universal language of art is something that we need now more than ever, to create that immersive empathy, not just in the jewelry that we wear, but in the art that we have in our homes, and how we vote with our wallets, but also how we tell stories that humanize one another and recognize that the suffering of one is the suffering of all. And so how I see your community being helpful to my cause, which is not only in Somalia but global, is by continuing to spread messages like this, that we all have a role to play in building peace, and that it's not just something for the developing world. But in fact, now more than ever, through dialogue like this, we can learn from one another and share experiences.